What's up, everybody? Welcome to my hotel room in Kansas. I want to just do a little recap video like I've done before with tournaments where I just show you all the scorecard and we kind of talk about things. I wish that I could film my rounds, but I don't think that I'm at the point where I would want that because I actually want to play well and I don't want to think about cameras or anything like that. So generally that's why I film practice rounds and all that kind of stuff. But we don't need to talk too much about round one because I already did a full video kind of talking about that on my Instagram. So round one, I shot +8. And on hole one, I birdied. Hole two, I got a double bogey. And hole three, I got a quadruple bogey. So I ended the round +8, and 6 strokes came from 2 holes. And so obviously that's really deflating and frustrating. But disc golf is such a mental game in how you approach it. And like I was really annoyed, really bothered. It was a 900 rated round. And I looked back at it and I was like, I really only played bad on 2 holes. I maybe made some other decisions that got me bogeys on other holes, but that happens. It was 2 holes that really, really messed up my score. And so I felt like I played okay for the most part the rest of the round. And so I had to kind of separate myself from the entirety of the score and say, you know what, it was really just, you just had 2 bad holes. You just had 2 bad holes. And so that round was a 900 rated round. And your boy fixed some things in his head with his game plan and all that kind of stuff. I don't feel like I changed too much of my play. I do think that I read the wind a little bit better the second day. It was like there was a tornado watch for my entire round. And then the back 9 of my round was like wild. Like there was a couple of times where the wind was probably 35, 40 miles an hour, but it was a consistent probably 20 to 25 for the round. So it was tough. It was definitely tough playing in wind like that. But all that to say, hole 1 is a 405-foot hole. Threw my Grace on a backhand in a tailwind and had about a 20-foot putt. So that was about a 385-foot drive. Made the putt, starting off with a birdie. That was awesome. Hole 2 is kind of a dangerous hole with out of bounds, and so I just threw a hyzer in and got a par on that one. The next hole, it was still a tailwind, and so I wanted to kind of stay even with the wind. I didn't want to get my disc too high, so I threw a sidearm, and the wind pushed it down. And so it hit the ground probably about 200 feet short of the basket. So I threw my Justice in. And I've talked about this in videos before where I would rather go 10 feet past the basket than 10 feet short. And I still stand by that in normal rounds. But in a round like this, where on this hole specifically, there was a pretty big tailwind, my mentality should have shifted to coming up 10 feet short. Instead of 10 feet long, because I threw my shot and I ended up like 25 past, putting into a headwind, almost made it, but that was my first bogey. It was frustrating, but it was what it was. I wasn't going to allow that to really bother me. And then we go through hole 4, 5, 6, and 7, all birdies, just crushing it. So hole 4 was a 250-foot shot. I took a Vader, threw it out on a big hyzer in a tailwind, and it crashed down about 15 away. Ended up making the putt. The next hole was a 515-foot hole, and I took my Grace. It was still in that tailwind. We were pushing all along this road that the first 6 holes were along. So the first 6 holes was pretty much a tailwind. It might change from right to left tailwind to direct tailwind, but that was the mentality of it the whole time. I threw my Grace. I pumped it. Y'all, I pumped it out over the road, and we were all like afraid it wasn't going to come back, but it came in bounds by like 70 feet. So like it was scary, but it was worth it. And I wouldn't doubt that. So it was a 515-foot hole. I think I was less than 100 out from the basket, maybe like 80 or so. And so that was probably my longest drive of the tournament. It was like a 420-foot shot. So I was really, really happy with that. Threw my Justice and sidearm, ended up making that one. The next one was a 325-foot hole with a whole lot of out of bounds. Threw my Grace again in that tailwind, and even though it was 325 feet, I probably threw the disc 360 or 370 through a real big hyzer, knowing that the wind was going to stable it up, and landed and skipped maybe 10 feet and was touching the basket pin. So easiest putt of the day. The disc was underneath the basket. It was sick. Next hole, now we're coming into a headwind, so it's going to make your discs more understable. 280-foot shot, but there's a tree in the middle, so you either have to go backhand over the water, which is probably about a 320-foot carry, or sidearm over, which is probably about the same distance. But in the headwind, I wanted to throw my Tristan Tanner Rive, and I'm telling you guys, this thing probably traveled 370, 380 feet. I threw it so far out wide, just making sure I was going to avoid that water on a big hyzer. Landed 8 feet from the basket for another easy birdie there. And then holes 8, 9, and 10 were all pars. So coming into hole 11, 340-foot shot with a line of trees just straight down this sidewalk, and then the basket at the end of it with maybe 10 feet left until out of bounds of the basket. So now we were going back in a tailwind, probably more of a right to left tailwind, like 50-50. Through the Grace again, since it was that tailwind, hug it out wide, went past the basket by about 10 feet and ended up getting that for a birdie, which was awesome. And then the next hole was pretty frustrating because I threw a sick drive. It's a really tough dog leg left that has out of bounds that hugs the left all the way up to the basket. So the goal is just to push it straight. And so I threw straight off the tee, tailwind stabled it up, was in a great spot. Threw my Justice, landed 10 feet short of the basket, which was what I said I wanted to change. So I changed that mentally. And when it caught edge, the wind grabbed it and pushed it probably 25 long. And so I just had a scary headwind putt at that point, which is never any fun. So scary headwind putt, ended up missing that one, which was really frustrating. I hit chains and it came out, and so that ended up being another bogey there. But that was fine because at that point I had gotten 6 birdies and 2 bogeys, so I was doing pretty well. The next hole was it's 250-foot like little sidearm. At this point, the wind was absolutely insane. Threw my felon pretty hard and came up short, and the putt was just wild. I threw it low, tried to get to it, it lifted and went over, and then ended up saving the par on that one. The next hole is a 570-foot par 4, and my second shot, so my first shot was a bomb. It was really, really good. My second shot is low ceiling with a bunch of trees through the sidearm. At that point, it was I guess it was still a tailwind. It was like the same right to left tail, but we were going this way, so it was more of a tail at that point. It pushed it down, and so I wasn't able to get the birdie, even though my drive kind of warranted one. And then the next hole was a 507-foot par 3. This one was sick. So like I said, this was when the wind was absolutely insane. And right here, there's OB on the right and no OB on the left. So literally, I just threw my Rive dead straight into this headwind, and it went way to the left in another fairway. But I didn't care because that was safe. I was not risking going close to the other thing. Then I threw my felon on a 270-foot rope, like just dead straight again into this headwind, and landed 5 feet from the basket, was able to tap that one in. My felon and my Justice were money for me during that round. Honestly, the felon, the Justice, the Rive, and the Grace were probably 90% of my shots, not including my putts. And so that was absolutely wild. And then parred the next 2 holes just because of the wind. I was playing safe. I didn't want to do anything dumb. I would just do wide hyzers and then pitch ups. I was not messing with it at that point. And then hole 18 is an insanely, it's 408 feet. The whole right side is trees with maybe 5 feet in between them, all the way down 408 feet. Really low ceiling, sidewalk on the left, raging headwind at this point, like 35, 40 miles an hour. And threw my felon dead straight. It hugged the sidewalk and pushed, and just went straight and never came back. And so went out of bounds there, threw the felon again, out over bounds under a tree. Really, really good shot. Honestly, it got a big skip, but I still ended up making the shot there. So that was that last bogey. Ended up being a 1,007 rated round, which I believe is my highest rated tournament round. I think my other one was like 1,005 or something. So it was pretty cool. One little thing that I want to mention just for you guys, to try and prevent, on that last hole, my card all agreed on where I went out of bounds, and we put my disc there, and that was where we went out of bounds. And so I threw from there. Everyone agreed. After I threw, a guy on the hole behind us who was waiting because there was a backup on that hole because it was tough, was like, "Bro, you went out of bounds way back here." And honestly, that's just like really unprofessional and just kind of uncalled for, because like that could have affected me mentally, and I still had a hole to play. It is the card's decision on that kind of stuff where something goes out of bounds, and you all agree on that. If you're not on my card, I don't care where you think I went out of bounds because all the other players agreed. We all watched me tee off. And so I just want to encourage you guys to not be that guy, because honestly, it's kind of embarrassing and it's just really unprofessional. And yeah, we're playing in, MA1 at an A tier, but still just kind of hold yourself to a higher standard, But that was my round, 1,007, really stoked about it. My next round is in 3 hours. As of recording this, I'm excited for it. I think we're going to play well. I'm going to try and play smart, see if we can make a move. I was in 99th place after the first round, moved up to 22nd place. So I'm going to see if I can shoot pretty well today. I want to get at least 4 down so that I can finish the tournament even. But there are lots of scoreable holes on this course. So I'm hoping to play smart, hoping to have fun, shoot really well, and just move up. No real expectations or anything like that. Ultimately, just want to have fun and play the game that I know I can play. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate y'all support and your love. See you on the next one. Peace out.